Hey everybody, I'm Zach and I like movies, and today I'm talking about the new Martin Scorsese picture, Killers of the Flower Moon. Martin Scorsese, the God, is back again. And every Martin Scorsese movie feels like an event. Just an assured fire, already instant classic after instant classic. But really in this current film landscape of over-dominated by superhero franchises in an age of algorithm dependent streaming services, movies by directors like Scorsese feel a lot more necessary than they probably ever have. And it certainly helps that his run of the 2010s has been arguably his strongest run of films in his entire career. Really top to bottom bangers for well over and into the 2020s now. And really, since Silence in 2016, his approach to these films have favored a more patient pace, with letting the silence do all of the talking. This has stretched out his runtimes to 2 and past 3 hours, with still worthwhile and often very devastating effect. Which, of course, brings us to his latest modern epic, Killers of the Flower Moon, a mix of true crime and post-Western playing out like a slow motion descent into an all-American evil. But it's not like he's only recently been making historical epics of the past few years. In fact, a lot of what Killers was doing reminded me of the same violent American building blocks that he was exploring back in Gangs of New York almost 20 years ago. Actually, 20? Yeah, more than 20 years ago. God, I feel old now. But instead of late 1800s New York, here he set his sights on 1920s Oklahoma, where the Osage tribe struck it rich with oil-rich land, and see a period of wealth and excellence not seen in indigenous communities before, and probably not really since. This doesn't really sit well with rich white guys like the little too friendly King Hale Burkhart, played by a banally evil Robert De Niro, who don't want to settle by just having plenty of money. They instead want most of the money, maybe even all of the money ever. And hey, if they can screw over Native Americans to do it, what do they care? So Hale hatches a little scheme to have his nephew Ernest Burkhart, played by Leonardo Dicaprio, marry into a wealthy Osage family to eventually have some of that money drip towards his side of the family, and maybe they could find ways to maybe make that money flow into their side a little bit faster. So romance strikes up where Ernest, both unwillingly but mostly willingly, becomes a pawn into the game, into King Hale's game with a genocidal finish line. Now there's never any open discussion about what the plan is. There's only ever strong inferences of jobs to be done, and favors for favors and things that need doing. They don't need to say what they're doing. Because everyone is in on this plan. Everyone wants some of that money. Most of them want all that money, and they don't need. Again, no words need to be said. All you need is the implication. First things first. It's absolutely amazing. All the production quality is very rich and finely detailed and finely researched. There's the costume designs, the sets are all very immaculately made. They feel very lived in, very rustic, and really sick. And it also helps that every single performance here bangs. Every performer does great. Leonardo DiCaprio, I had initial misgivings of his performance. I wasn't sure if he was the right one to be cast here. I honestly thought Ernest would have been better suited for Jesse Plemons instead of Rock Finn's Leo. But he eventually won me over, especially in the latter third of the movie, where his body, where his like face scrunches up in this like tight, this tight lip grimace, almost like his body is contorting to cope with the guilt that he's feeling, even as he carries out all the evil he does, as despite such guilt. He will probably wind up being one of Scorsese's most damned characters because he cannot face what he's done. Robert De Niro, as I said before, is really an embodiment of the banality of evil, and even when he's like hatching his like brilliant systemic genocidal schemes, he still has like moments of just like plain and obvious evil. Like he has these little insurance fraud schemes that are like clear as day, like anybody could see that. It's often funny, but then it stops being funny when you realize that men like him really did exist, and he's actually is that evil and obvious with his evil. But honestly, even amongst all the key performers, the absolute standout here, as you may have heard, is Lily Gladstone as Molly. She carries a quiet and stubborn grace that really grounds this film and really lets you feel the heart of the pain and suffering, the immense pain and grief and just dreariness that of this entire story. And actually, if you want more Lily Gladstone, then you should check out a movie that actually caught Scorsese's eye for Lily. She was in this movie. This is Certain Women by Kelly Reichardt from 2016. She's really great in that. And she's absolutely excellent here. Even moments when she's like totally devastated emotionally and even physically drained out because she's like suffering from diabetes, she still carries so much like power in just a look in her eye. She has so much dynamism to her, and she really needs to be in more movies and more seen by more people, seen by more everyone. Because, and speaking of faces, this whole cast is absolutely dynamite. Everyone, this movie delivers a absolute feast of faces. This is like, there's a recurring character that's played by that gas station attendant from No Country for Old Men, that old jowly man. He plays a banker who who a little later into the film you casually just pass him by while in a parade while he's wearing a Ku Klux Klan hood, which kind of really shows you just how thick, how deeply ingrained everyone it was into this scheme. Which it's really devastating. And hell, you even get smaller parts by like Jesse Plemons as an FBI agent. Well, it's not really FBI, more like the Bureau of Investigations. The FBI was a little recent thing. Then you get Brendan Fraser for a little bit, playing basically a Coen Brothers character. And yeah, I will admit, there were times where I did feel the length of it, more physically than anything. But I'm not sure how, and I'm hoping that will be fixed with the second watch. I've seen like Irishman at least 2 or 3 times, and that movie flies by pretty well. This one does clip by at a really gradual pace, and like the sequencing of these moments will like really stick with you. The editing rhythms and the moment to moment, not just the moment to moment scenes, but like the scene to scene in structure of the editing is really impactful. And honestly, so what if it is long? Drink a Gatorade, have a nap beforehand, do some stretches. In fact, I actually did do some stretches during them. It is a long movie, and could an argument be made that this whole story with the scope that it has would have been better suited as a arguably more digestible like HBO miniseries or something like that? Probably. But this is a story, not just a movie. This is a story that deserves your full attention. The story of the Osage murders was left forgotten by history. And Martin Scorsese himself makes you very aware that even he is aware of how the story gets remembered, who remembers it, and who gets to tell this story. It makes that point very, very clear in that final scene, which I won't give away. but he does make the point known. And honestly, that is a devastating ending. It's devastating. The worst thing about an ugly story with a bummer ending is when that story gets ignored. Frankly, the final line will haunt me for the rest of the year. It's really, really powerful. It's a really powerful movie, really powerful story. Again, everything you've probably heard of it by now, absolutely true. From the performances, the directing, the editing, the Robbie Robertson's music is really, really good. A lot of it is just like these like distant, haunting wails of screams, and these like sobering guitar strings, and just like it really just crushes into the mood, and it's so devastating. And knowing that this is a story of history that was forgotten, like I didn't know about this, and it even invokes another long forgotten moment of history, Tulsa, which most people didn't know about until they saw the Watchmen show, which is just devastating. And it even is more important now that you see, political movements trying to restrict and determine which stories of history get told and in what way and by who for who. And I think that makes Killers of the Flower Moon even more necessary. More movies like this do need to come out, because sometimes when you aren't being taught them, sometimes a movie is kind of the only way you can see it. And yeah, it's absolutely incredible. This is definitely another great work by a great master of film, one of the greatest champions of film in film history, and it's so powerful. I think this is definitely one of the best of the year, I think, and I feel a strong 8 to a light 9. It's probably in order. There's a little rating here or whatever. One day I'll put these in, but yeah, it's amazing. Go see it. Definitely go see it while it's still in theaters. It will be coming to streaming on Apple TV Plus eventually. I'm not sure when, but if you can see it in the theaters, you absolutely must. And yeah, that's my review. So comment, like, share, subscribe. Did you see Killers of the Flower Moon? What did you think of Killers of the Flower Moon? What's your favorite Scorsese movie? What's your favorite long Scorsese movie? Because he's made at least a handful, more than a handful. So yeah, that's my review. Thank you for watching, and hey, keep watching movies.